Alejandro Garnacho was a standout player for Manchester United last season. No teenager in Europe's top 5 leagues had more goals and assists than him, and he quickly proved that he could adapt from being an impact sub to a consistent starter. I mean, no United player started more games than Garnacho last season, and of course, right at the end, he was a goal scorer in the FA Cup final. He was one of United's more consistent performers across the season, but there's still tons of room for improvement. And today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at 3 big reasons why Garnacho could explode next season. Now, Garnacho has one of the most crucial attributes any winger would want, and it's not necessarily something that can be taught. In fact, it's the winger's persistence and in-game mentality that just helps him a lot. It means that if he isn't succeeding against his fullback, which we have seen throughout the season, he won't simply drop off and change things massively. He won't get scared of the occasion and start passing sideways, passing backwards, not challenging his man. He will relentlessly challenge them. And that type of mentality from a winger is a fullback's worst nightmare, because as a fullback, you want to win your battles early and then hopefully deal with a less confident, a less direct winger. But wingers like Garnacho almost have the memory of a goldfish in a good sense, because they forget about their failures in the previous play. They forget that they didn't get past the man beforehand. They just go all out. And Vinicius Jr. is probably the best in the game in this aspect. But for Garnacho, this type of mentality suggests that even if it might be a frustrating watch for me and you at points, he will only become more of a problem for fullbacks in those 1v1 situations going forward, because he will get used to those failures. He will get better in certain aspects in those 1v1 situations, which will up his success rate. But no matter what, that relentless nature will be the catalyst for that improving. And secondly, I think this is probably the most important one, is Garnacho's going to be in an improved team. I mean, during his first season as a consistent starter, he was overplayed and in a team that was struck by injury, had a questionable setup, and could rarely hold attacks throughout games. He was often found defending alongside his fullback or expected to score every chance that came his way because United simply weren't creating enough chances. And quite simply, things will not be as bad as they were last season. Touch wood. New signings, a new approach, and less injuries should all contribute to United being a better football team, and in turn that will help the attackers like Garnacho. I always look at Arsenal as an example and their wingers, and the amount of opportunities that they have to run at their man in dangerous positions in the final third. And it's mainly all because of their team dominance and setup, and that Martinelli or Saka or Trossard are able to receive the ball in those dangerous positions countless times a game. And so you don't notice the failures as often, and they get more opportunities. And like I said, this almost ties in with that relentless nature. And if United can get anywhere close to that, with Garnacho receiving the ball regularly in dangerous situations, then things will be looking good for the 19-year-old. But on the flip side of that, some people may argue that with Manchester United signing more players, the potential for someone like Marcus Rashford to come back refreshed after a summer off, there's every chance that Garnacho isn't getting that game time on the left wing every week, every 90 minutes almost, which he was getting last season. But one important factor is his performances from last season on the right wing. He's really proved that he can be effective and almost better than he was on the left-hand side on that right wing. Now, whether it's Erik ten Hag in charge or someone else, that will be a massive help to both the team, having a winger who can play on both sides, because we've had Marcus Rashford, we've had Jadon Sancho, both of who you could argue could play both sides, but you could always tell that if Rashford was playing on the right, he would not be anywhere near as effective on a regular basis. Whereas Garnacho, it seems like he's got a good base of skill sets to work on that right wing, whether he's driving centrally from wide with the ball, whether he's going on the outside and delivering a cross, or simply making good passing decisions in possession. We saw it for Kobbie Mainoo's goal, where he picked up the ball, played it inside to Bruno Fernandes, who then got the assist. He can definitely play both sides, and that, with an improved team, if Rashford does get back into the form we know he can, if someone else comes in that front line, that versatility from Garnacho will help him massively in terms of game time, but also developing different aspects of his game. And finally, the main reason why I think Garnacho can explode and hit those extra levels next season is that he is so close with his final product, and I personally believe that he's got the work rate, the energy and the ability to improve that in the coming season. I mean, Garnacho last season was electric, exciting, a little bit unpredictable, but a little bit wasteful in the final moment. Now, of course, he's still got good goal and assist returns, but not excellent. And if you do look back at his highlights across the season, there could have easily been 5 to 10 more goals and assists if he just made a little bit better of a decision or executed his shot or pass that little bit better. Now, of course, this is something that you can say about many young players, but what means that they're going to improve? What means that that is going to click and they're going to start scoring more? They're going to be more ruthless in front of goal, be able to create those passes more often? Well, I think there's a couple of different things. Of course, I think the work rate and mentality behind the scenes. And like I mentioned in the first point, Garnacho is relentless. He will not stop until he's improving different aspects of his game. And I think if he's going into this summer, of course he's got Argentina duty as well, but he will be looking at that as what he wants to prove next season, that he's got that end product. And secondly, you look at the context of the player, and Garnacho is a player who I watched in the youth academy. I was present at a lot of the games for the FA Youth Cup run, which him and Mainoo ended up winning. And while he was really exciting at the time, I was really not convinced that he was prepared for first team football. I was expecting either a loan potentially or a really slow integration into that first team environment. But what Garnacho showed during that first season under Ten Hag was major development in so many aspects of his game, whether that was driving inside with the ball, his decision making, his first touch, his defensive contributions. There's countless improvements which he made in that first season, but he was still mainly just an impact substitute. I remember when he'd start games and a lot of people didn't think he was ready for that, but the season afterwards, where Marcus Rashford's out of form, there's tons of injuries, he had to be relied upon. He really stepped into that role, improved his game over 90 minutes rather than 15, improved different aspects, and that is the biggest reason why I believe that he can really flick that switch and improve his ability in those final moments. And if he is able to do that, with all that I've mentioned before, all of his improvements, all of his attributes, then he really could be an exciting prospect next year. But let me know what you think in the comments below. How many goals and assists will Garnacho get next season? And do you think he will improve like I'm suggesting he will?